Creative Magic Makers. It's Kristen here. Welcome to the live. We are going to be working on Word of the Year project. Word of the Year for 2020. Just wait till a couple of people see us here. Happy full moon. Hope everyone is doing well so far, the start of this year. Today is the full moon, and I think my plan is gonna be to hop on here with a live video doing the new moon and the full moon cycles. So around the time that those two are going on, and that will hold me accountable to a timeline, but it won't be quite as rigid as I was doing when I was here every Sunday. Hi, Melanie. Happy day. Welcome. So today we're going to work on a Word of the Year painting project. I've been talking about this in the group. I've posted a few different things and getting you guys thinking about what your Word of the Year can be. If you don't know what this is, instead of taking stock and doing some specific resolutions, I like to just choose a word, one word that will carry me through that year, and something that I want to embody. I like one word for a lot of reasons. It's easy to remember. It brings you back to just how you want to feel, and you can focus on just that one word instead of having lots of different specific goals that you're trying to meet. You're just really trying to remember that one word throughout the year. I also like that it can be a very easy visual reminder. I tend to do creative projects around my Word of the Year in January and February so that I can see them all year long and remember why I chose that word and what I want to feel. Especially helpful when you're going through maybe a transition or a struggle or just feeling out of sorts. You can see that word and it brings you back to, you know, what you wanted for that year, what your intention was. You can either, do this very logically, like journal, write it all out. I do have a PDF file here in the group in the file section. You can print or just download and read and journal with that. Or you can let your word show up intuitively. You can see what kind of things keep presenting themselves to you, or maybe you're seeing that particular word or idea over and over again in random places. Hi, Patsy. Thanks for joining. And I had a funny one to the start of this year because I thought for sure I knew my word or was pretty close to it. I kept going back and forth between flourish and blossom and thrive, all fabulous words. I've been doing a lot of flower paintings, and that just kind of seemed in line with where I was feeling and where I was at. But then the word love came up, and that is something that's kind of, I listened to those signs and it just felt a little like maybe this is what I need. Maybe this is what, instead of being as much left-brained as I was with thrive and growing and blossoming, maybe what I need is love. And what does that mean? That word came up for me like intuitively. I went to a new moon ritual little gathering 2 weeks ago. And at that gathering, we did a 12-month card spread, and we could use tarot cards or we could use oracle cards. You could bring your own, or there were some cards there. I brought 2 decks with me, and I ended up using one of the decks. And when I laid it all out for the year, I realized out of the 12 months, the theme of love showed up multiple times. It showed up in January, it showed up in April, It showed up again in July and in September and in November and December. So all different ways, you know, speak up with love and be heard, offer help, be love, awaken to divine love, all different ways it showed up, but it showed up that many times. And that had me thinking, you know, maybe there's a message for me there. Maybe love needs to be my word of the year. So I've been embracing that is my word. So if you follow me at Softlex Company, we made a love necklace this last week. We did that on, I think it was Wednesday, where I stamped my word into a piece of jewelry, and I've been wearing that. And now we're gonna work on a canvas painting. And I like to hang this painting up somewhere where I could see it regularly. Last year I hung up my painting word of the year in my kitchen. And this way I can glance at it when I'm, you know, cooking or doing something in the kitchen, just look up and see it and be reminded. All right, that said, let's get this party started. I'm gonna be switching from one tripod to another, so hopefully I do not drop you, but I apologize if I do in the process. And I want to say it does take me a little while to get myself set up, especially because I'm going to be using a lot of art products. And so like today I hopped on, I think 4 or 5 minutes later than I said, but I really started setting up like 45 minutes before. So just give me a little time. Like if I'm not there, I should be there within 5 minutes. If I say I'm going to be on here at noon, I should be on here within, you know, 5 minutes or so. So just a heads up, it does take me a little while to get the tripod and all the supplies out and everything going. So just be aware if you don't see me right away, just give me a few minutes to get on here. All right, let's move you on. Hi, Colleen. I'm glad you made it today. So I'm switching tripods. So I've just got a little rose quartz here at my desk for my painting. Since rose quartz is a stone of love, I thought that would be fun to keep in my space while I'm going. I have some water. So this is a glass of water. It's nice to just be able to recycle old jars and things that you might have around. I also have another jar of brushes, just a random mix of brushes. We've got round, this one's angled. We've also got round in a couple of sizes. Flat. And I'll probably pick some others as I'm going. This one, sort of flat, but a little bit angled. This one's got a little bit of an angle on it too. And then here is a larger flat one. So a couple of different sizes of flats and rounds. And then I also have this angled guy here. Let me see how we're looking. Oh, I forgot a palette, so let me grab that. For my painting palette, I have this old plastic plate that I used from when the kids were little. I think I picked this up at IKEA, and what I like about it is it's got this little lip all the way around, so my paint doesn't roll off at all. And just let the paint dry on here, and whenever you have any kind of palette, especially plastic or a glass one, you can pick it off once it gets really thick. Mine's pretty thin at the moment, but when it gets a few layers on top, then you can just sort of peel it off and you've got a fresh palette to work with again. I think I'm gonna start with this big blue brush. I'm going to be working probably with some craft paints, all acrylic. This one is a craft acrylic paint, and then maybe some of my other acrylics too. But these are great for projects that are a little more for yourself. They're low cost. They only are less than $1 usually for one of these little bottles. You can pick up lots of different colors. I do want to share with you before I get started that I have a little hole in this canvas, and since this is just for me, I'm gonna go ahead and use this, but I did create a little patch. So what I did on the back is I used some Mod Podge, which is like a white glue, so if you have any white glue that would work too. And then I put some Mod Podge down, straightened it out, and then I cut a little piece of canvas from here on the back, and I put that down right on the back, making sure the prime side was facing out. And now I have a little patch there. Since this will have a lot of layers, I'm sure that patch will just disappear. But if you ever find yourself that you punctured a canvas, especially before you get started, that is an easy way to make a little fix. So I'm just gonna go straight from the bottle, add a bunch of paint on my brush, and I am gonna write my word of the year. So my word of the year is love. And I'm just gonna keep writing it over and over. I'm just infusing this canvas with love, energy. And then maybe I'll add some hearts. And this does a couple of things. It kind of gets me started. It's a warm-up. It removes that white canvas fear of not knowing where to put something down. And it just gets you creating. And I'm just using the same color all the way. Filling in with these little marks. So if your word was courage or hope, then you could go through your canvas and just write that word over and over and over again. So I used a really large brush, which allowed me to fill up that canvas pretty quickly, and it allowed my letters to be really large. Once you're done, just mix it in here in your water to clean off your brush. And then I keep an old washcloth. I have a couple of them in my studio that I use to wipe off the color and the paint. You could also use a paper towel. And then once your brush is clean, you can stick it brush side up back in your little brush holder to allow it to dry a little bit. Next up, I'm going to play with this stamp I have. I have a little heart stamp. This is from paper stamping. I don't know how well it's going to impress, but I wanted to give it a try. So I think I'll use this brush here. I put some purple on my palette, and I'm just going to paint like you would, like if you were stamping and you just wanted to get some stamping ink on your heart. And we'll see how that impresses. And you'll see the first one has a lot of ink, and then as I keep going, it gets less and less until it cleans it. And I like that variation. So I will leave it, and then I'm gonna do some more. And that's okay if some pink gets picked up. This kind of project, like a lot of my projects, especially in the beginning, is all about playing. I feel like the first layer is a good way to get comfortable with supplies that you're working with and experiment with how they work. Not be afraid to use them because it's your first layer. If you do something and you don't like it, you can just paint over it. But if you use it and you really like the technique or the impression it makes, then you know you can keep it or bring it back on another layer. I cannot believe I am doing all these hearts. For those of you that don't know, I am not a fan of hearts. It's never been something I've really gravitated towards. And so when my word of the year showed up as love, one of my first thoughts was, oh goodness, is my symbol gonna be hearts? What do I do with that? So I'm trying to embrace the heart. All right, so to clean this off, again, I just put my brush in my water. And you want to, especially with the bigger brushes, you want to really like hit the bottom so that you get that off there. So remind me of what everyone's word was. Melanie, did you pick a word? I feel like you had a good one. And Colleen, I know you did too. Clean off my stamp. I'm just going to grab some water and I'm going to take my rag and just wipe it down. I have a quote that I've used in some paintings of mine way back when. I even have a necklace I made with it that says, breathe it all in, love it all out. And it's one of my favorites. And I think, that might be a good, mantra for this year. Breathe it all in, love it all out. What color am I going to do next? hello and bless me. Thanks. It seems like we're all sneezing a little bit over here. I just added some blue. So I just kind of did this intuitively, but now that I'm looking at it, I wanted to point it out. Pink is very closely related to purple, and how you make purple is by adding blue. So I'm working with very harmonizing colors because pink and blue will make a purple in theory. So this would be considered like an analogous color. They're next to each other in a color wheel when you take the two end colors and the color that you mix together. It's a nice harmonious palette to work with. Oh, Melanie, yours was half. That's right. But now I'm trying to decide how having half makes me feel. Free, light, unburdened. That's awesome. I love it. I remember it was an interesting word. I was trying to remember what it was. And thinking about how that half makes you feel is so important. Bless me. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so let me move this back into my dry brush section. And what brush do I want to use next? I think I'm going to stick with the big ones for right now, since I'm still using the first layer, and the big brushes are a great way to get a lot of color down. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to this brush, and I'm going to pick up some blue because I am just loving blue lately. Colleen says, I use the color meanings chart you gave me to pick my colors. Oh, fantastic. And I'm just gonna mark kind of where there's some white space, I think, in here with this blue. That was such a good idea, Colleen. I should have pulled that out to look at, but I'm pretty sure pinks and reds and purples are very love colors. So which colors did you end up playing with, Colleen? Speaking of colors, I think my first sketchbook session, which will be on the new moon, so that'll be about 2 weeks from now, I'm gonna look at the moon schedule so that I can pick some days. I think the first sketchbook project will start with looking a little more closely at some materials, how they work, and discussing color, because I know color can be very intimidating for a lot of people, and you can actually have a whole course just in color, but I think we'll go over some of the basics, and color meanings is a good one to include in that. Colleen says, orange means adventure, which is my word. Perfect. Ooh, I wonder if you can see how you can pick up that color in other areas of your life, like when you're buying something new, maybe for the house. Think about if orange is a color you want to incorporate so that you have it around you throughout the year as another reminder of adventure. I'm already seeing pink show up. I actually bought some really pale pink paint yesterday at the store, which is like so not a color I've ever purchased. So I think I bought it in the little cheapy, in these kind of paints, but I've never actually bought it in the larger, more expensive acrylic paints that I work with. So I thought that that was kind of funny that I bought a very pale pink. all those little hearts are going bye-bye. We'll see if they come back. And yellow is for inner strength. Orange and yellow, what bright sunny colors. Are there any symbols that have come up for you in regards to adventure also? Like I think arrows can be kind of a symbol of adventure, like the journey. While this dries for a second, I'll show you guys my one from last year. So this is last year's word of the year. It was transform, and I had seen a few dragonflies right around the beginning of the year, some blue ones over at the Salt River near our house. And when I looked up dragonflies, it did match with transformation, because they do, you know, start as one thing and then move into like the next section of their life as a dragonfly. And they also meant, I think, good luck and things of that nature. So it's fun to be able to have a symbol with your word if you want, if it makes sense. So I could have picked up dragonfly, you know, charms or keychains or anything like that that would help me feel that word transform last year. So I'm just gonna wet my brush. I don't have any color on it. I just gave myself some wet, and I'm just gonna blend some of these colors here. I'm just gonna go around some of these edges and use the water on my brush to blend. Some of this background. For anyone that joined, we were working on a word of the year project. I started with choosing my word of the year, and then I put it down on this canvas in the background all over. I repeated it with paint, and then I added some hearts, and now I'm just kind of playing with making just a wild and fun base. Now, just wetting my paintbrush and blending this in works pretty well with these colors because they are close to each other, the pinks and the blue, and then pink and blue make purple. So by doing blending, I'm not creating any really ucky colors. If I was using colors that were you know, on the opposite ends of the spectrum, like maybe I was using can't even think of a color right now, but maybe I was using green and red together, and I'm trying to, since they are opposite on the color wheel, they're gonna make a very muddy or gray brown color. So if you start to see that you're making mud, back off and look at the color choices you're trying to blend, and are they too far from one another on a color wheel. So things that will work really well are colors that are close to each other. Even though I'm using pink, it's actually kind of a red and a blue and a purple. These colors will blend well together, you know, these colors, anybody next to one another. But if I was using a red and a green, it's gonna make a yucky, muddy color. If I'm using blue, well, blue and yellow do make green. blue and orange may be kind of icky. I'm just gonna pat down some of the wetness so that my canvas dries a little quicker for the next layer. So like I said before, that hearts are just not really my thing. So I'm gonna try and embrace them a little bit this year with my, my word of love. But I also did some research to come up with what other symbols could I use for love? What other universal symbols are there that, that talk about love? And a couple of things that I found were that swans and doves are a symbol of peace and love. Two doves together signify fidelity. Also a symbol for deep, enduring love in the Hindu tradition. So swans and doves were an option. Maple leaves in Japan and China. A red maple leaf is used as an emblem for lovers and serves to remind them of the beauties of love in everyday life. There's Celtic love symbols like the claddagh ring, you know, which is the two hands and the heart. You could do love knots. Shells, I didn't know that shells, but shells, the home of pearls and mollusks, like a scalloped shell, that is a symbol of love, as is an apple and Cupid. And lastly, I found roses, which is why a lot of people give roses for Valentine's Day and things like that. So that was kind of fun to see some other ideas of what I can use instead of just a heart. And since I've been painting lots of flowers, the roses really spoke to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint some roses on here today. Picking up my, I want to say, what size is this? 12. So this is a size 12 round brush. I'm going to start with just doing some leaves around. And maybe even make them kind of viney. Have some come down, some go up. When I start, oh, the TV's on. Why is the TV on? Let me go see what's happening. But I'm gonna let that dry for a second. Can you turn the TV off?
I'm doing it. When I made a mistake.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Here we go. And I'm going to use the back side of my paintbrush to make a few lines in my leaves. And then lastly, I'm gonna add some roses, since roses are a symbol of love. What color roses though? Maybe I'll do a mixture. Romantic love and a red rose, which can also symbolize passion and desire, many facets of love. And a white rose depicts divine love, a yellow rose depicts friendship, a pink rose infatuation or romantic feelings. I think I'll start with white. And for this, I'm going to also use a round brush, but I'm going to use a little smaller one. So this is a size 10. So this is just a little smaller than the 12. When I do roses, I like to start in the center. And then as you're almost making like little half moon lines to begin with. I'm going to keep them super loose to start, and then we can always go back and add in some more detail. I start in the center. And I'm just moving around the canvas. The fun part about using, or I should say the nice part about using white to start with is that if I decide to change this to, say, a yellow flower, it'll have a nice white base below it. Oh, let me see, I missed you here. Colleen asks, are we painting roses too, or something that relates to your word? It would be great if you can paint something that relates to your word. If you want to paint roses too, you can, but I chose roses because they relate to love. But maybe you want to do yellow or orange roses, and that way you get your color in there. Or you do red roses if you have an orange and yellow background. You're welcome. So I'm going back into my roses and just connecting some of those lines. Mostly on the outside of the flower. You'll see I picked up some of the green here, but that's okay. We can come back over it with some white. I'm going to add a little yellow. And maybe I'll make some of these roses yellow roses. When the yellow mixes with the white, it'll give you a few different variations of that yellow, different values. What kind of symbol do you think, Melanie, would be something you'd paint for half? Do you think it'd be something that had a lot of space in it? Or something that felt very free and liberating? I am making very light brush strokes and I'm allowing the paint to kind of just sit on top. I'll show you that closer. See how there's some, I'm not like really rubbing it in. Ooh, let me move that on the screen. I'm just letting the paint build up on top. I think I should bring in some red because that is about passion and devotion. And those seem like nice words for this year. I'm still using the same brush, and by using the same brush for all of the roses so far, they're going to be very similar in size and in style for now. I wonder if I should add some pink to the red one, so there's sort of a pink and red rose. I like that. That's enough roses for me. For the red, I'm going to add a little bit more on the whites. I wish I could have some music when I'm painting with you guys, but I think that I'd have issues with Facebook or YouTube if I have music in the background. If anyone has any suggestions to that, I might have to look into whether or not there's some free music that I can play. So that we can have a little without them taking down my video. Melanie says, I'm in the sketchbook and just started layering down color that I don't normally gravitate to. I'm going to start another and use lighter. I don't have a symbol, but maybe I just need to find a feel. A little lost, but being lost is good for me. Yeah, I think maybe doing something like you said, you want to feel light and you want to feel free and spacious. So maybe there's something to either working with light colors, maybe something galaxy-like, very spacious. What other things can be considered very open? You could be light as a feather. Feathers could be something. Will that come up for you? Okay, so now that I've got my symbol down, I'm just gonna take stock of the look at it. And I'm feeling like the background is a bit too busy. I need to tone it down a little bit, and I also need to pump up the contrast a little. So I'm going to grab more of that blue that I had, and I'm going to add it around some of the elements to bump up the contrast so that you see them. So I'll add it around this flower. And while you're painting, you can also think about how do you want to add your word to your piece, either whether your piece is in your sketchbook or it's on something else. Do you like your handwriting? Do you want to write it in with a paintbrush or a marker? Do you want to use some stencils of letters so that you're stenciling your word somewhere? The last couple of years I have cut the letters out of a magazine, so almost like ransom note kind of style. Like you cut out, I would cut out a letter L and then cut out another letter O from different pages in different places, and then use glue to glue that down. You can also find letter stickers that you can stick. Or if you work with scrapbook paper, there may be some with words on there that you want to cut out. Even old cards. I don't know if anyone else holds on to stuff like that, but I do have old birthday cards or other holiday cards. Colleen, with your adventure word, are you planning to take more adventures, or are you just looking for more adventure in your everyday? Do you want to go on more vacations? Are you doing road trips? Do you have anything planned like that? Or hoping to plan stuff like that? Anyone else watching, if you want to share any ideas about your word, we'd love to hear. I'm almost out of this blue, so I think I'll finish it here. Yes, a big 10-week road trip this summer. Oh, so I'm thinking like a fun symbol could be like the open road, or even, you know, like a VW bus kind of thing or something like that. I'm thinking of those Life is Good shirts always have kind of those adventuring, road tripping symbols. The open road, a road sign. Working on getting healthy for it. Awesome. So when does that start? Over the summer you said. Very cool. I'm going to take that dark blue, since it's one of my darker colors in my painting, and I'm going to use that to make some contrast in the flowers. So I'm going to go in the center, mostly just in the center, and maybe around the first row or two. Could also use that purple probably. Good ideas. Thanks. Yeah, that sounds like so much fun. Do you have an RV? So now the next color I feel like I'm missing is a little bit darker of a green because I'm using just this really light green. And it's nice to have at least 2 hues of a color to help bring out a little more depth and contrast. I don't want to pick up another green at the moment, so I'm looking at my palette and I just mixed this lighter green, which is what I was using, with the blue to see what would happen. And it turned into like, not really loving this color. It's almost got a gray look to it. So I'm gonna grab some of this yellow and add that, since I know yellow and blue make green. And now we have a whole nother color. And what's really nice, instead of grabbing another color all the time, is to take stock of what's already on your palette and how you can use the colors to mix another one. So if I wanted to bring in an orange using this yellow and this red-ish pink, I try that first. I mean, sometimes you might not mix the color you want and you end up grabbing a tube, but if you use the colors that are on your palette, you're gonna end up with a mixed color that's very pleasing to what's already going on because you're using the colors you've already got in the painting. Yes, you have a motorhome. Awesome. So exciting. That is definitely something I would like to do someday. We have some friends that just bought a school bus recently, like a renovated school bus that I guess is called a schoolie. And they just set off the last week or so to travel. And they have 2 young kids, like a 5 and 3 maybe. 2 young kids, a dog and a cat, and the 2 of them all in the schoolie, and they're gonna go to the East Coast, and then they're gonna be traveling back. I think they end in Minnesota, but I think they're planning to be gone for about a year or somewhat around there. Pretty exciting. Hi Liz, welcome. Yeah, we've done a few layers so far. I'm painting roses because they are a symbol of love, which is my word of the year, and people following along or working on colors and thoughts on their word of the year and what imagery or symbols they might want to paint. I'm sure there are a lot of flowers out there with different symbolist meanings like hope and friendship and things like that too, if you wanted to paint flowers. Did you ever pick a word of the year, Liz? Have you thought about it? Yeah, so fun for them. I mean, what an adventure, right? Going from, I mean, it just so great to do that when your kids are little. I think that's just really fun. See the country. I know they have plans of stopping along the way for certain reasons and stuff like that, but yeah, pretty awesome. So I really like the addition of that color, leaf, and then I think I'm going to do some details on it, and I want to even have it lighter. So I'm going to grab more yellow to add here, make a very yellowy green, maybe even some white. And so now I have a lighter one. Oh, positivity. That's a wonderful word. I think the idea of feeling positive. I might have lost you. Are you still here? Oh, I did for a second. Okay. It was hard for me to tell on my end if I came back. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Yes, the sun. Oh my gosh. Started to color the sun, put up ending covering the page with many colors. The sun is definitely something that feels positive. It just radiates joy. So now that I want to do some details on the leaves, I'm going to go down to a smaller brush. So this one's a size, let's see if I can even read it with all of my paint on here. Ooh, I'm not sure. I would guess this is a size like maybe 8. And I'm just gonna do, I'm not gonna do a lot of detail. I'm feeling very loose and free today. Even more so than usual. Yeah, even if you didn't want to do an actual symbol of the sun, you can definitely do like that spiraling or energetic kind of feeling, like the sun's rays coming off of the page, using some really nice, positive, happy colors. All right, so I've been on here for a while. I think I might stop with the painting part and think about how I want to add my word. But sometimes once I get going, it's hard to stop. I picked up that dark purple that I had used with the hearts in the beginning. Just adding a little more contrast around. Elizabeth says, I quickly put down several colors and words that reminded me of the word positivity. Perfect. How did it feel? Did it bring you positivity and joy just writing them all down? Let's see here. Great, awesome, good, I'm so glad. It's amazing what creative energy can do. And just always so I have a couple of things. I have this this stencil that I picked up at Michael's that's got tons of words on it. And there is one for love, so I could use that. I have a scrapbook page here that's got lots of different letters on it. And I am seeing that there is love on there. Elizabeth says, I used many colors in the drawing and it wasn't really a drawing of anything. Just scribbles of colors by the time I was done. I love those kind of sessions. Sometimes it's more about the energy than it is about creating something specific, you know? And sometimes it's just the energy of the colors or the strokes or the scribbles, and that is enough to really be your word, encompass your word. Oh, look at this scrapbook page I just found. This reminds me of positivity for some reason. These little sun, like starburst-like shapes. I don't know how to draw, so it worked good for me. Perfect. That's the beauty about creativity, is you don't have to actually draw something specific to enjoy the benefits. And a lot of times I feel like an actual thing is not needed, that you can just get what you need out of the piece by color and marks. Melanie has to take off. Yes, you're very welcome. I am going to do just my last part here and then I'll be done too. I'm thinking I like this little stencil, as I can do that, or I can cut out love from here. Maybe, like if I were to put it like right there, seems kind of cute. Stenciling could be a little fussy, so I'll try it and see if it comes out okay. What I'll do is just place my stencil down where I want my word, right here. And I have this flat brush. See how it's got a total flat top, and this is a stenciling brush. You can get away with stenciling without using this. It's just the flat brushes make it a little bit neater. And you can pick this up in a few different sizes. I think I bought like a variety pack when I got this one. So there were 3 different sizes that it came with. And what color? I might just do white so I know it stands out. So to do some stenciling, you want to really just get the flat part of your brush covered, and then I'm gonna even tap some off to the side. Cover it, tap it off, cover it, tap it off. And what I'm trying to do is make sure that the paint is on the brush in a consistent way so that it's not too gloppy on one side and not enough paint on the other side. And then I'm just gonna tap it down on my stencil. And if you don't have a stencil, you can use a paintbrush to write your word. You can use a marker, like a Sharpie marker or a paint pen marker. Those kind of things to write your word. Or you can cut it out, like I was showing. In this one, you can cut out each of the letters from a magazine and then glue them down. I'm just letting that sit a second, and then I will go and take this off here. And there is my word. And seriously, stencils can be a little finicky. So I'm going to take a dry brush and just and when I mean dry brush, I just mean a brush that I didn't put any water on. Clean up. Around my letter. And it's still not perfect, and that's okay. That's very common with stencils, but I just wanted to clean it up ever so slightly. Maybe I'll add a little bit of this hot pink here. Now my stencil didn't have a little mark for the O in the center, and I'm thinking I want it, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna take a little. Yeah, I like that in there. So there we have it. I'll probably work on this a bit more just to add some more detail. But I gotta let this dry. You really have to let your layers have time to dry between going a little further. So I will stop here for the day. And I want to say thank you guys for joining me, those of you who are here live, and if you weren't here live, this video will be added to the video section so you can watch it anytime. I hope that you have a wonderful year and that your word of the year inspires you to move in that direction you so desire. I'll be back in about 2 weeks. I will post, I think I'll post a schedule of the next couple of videos here in the group so you guys can be ready, and we're gonna work in our sketchbook. We're gonna start our sketchbook project at that point. I think we'll start with talking about some materials, going over some color, and yeah, so I look forward to seeing you guys again in a couple weeks, and we'd love to see what you're working on. So if you feel brave, if your word is courage and you want to feel brave and radiate positivity and share with the group, please post what you're working on. We're not here to judge, we're just here to support one another and continue to grow in our creative magic, bringing that into our everyday lives. So I'd love to see, and I'm sure everyone else would love to as well. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks, Colleen. Thanks, Melanie. Bye, Liz. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.